So something I've noticed in my travels around the internet is that a lot of people do get confused about drone airspace restrictions and where they can and where they can't fly their drone. Now this obviously ends up putting a lot of people off because they don't want to fall foul of the law and fly somewhere where they're not actually supposed to fly. But it's actually quite simple once you get your head around it. So what I want to do is just jump onto my favourite place to look at airspace restrictions and just go through the basic parameters of what you're looking at when you're looking at a place to fly. Okay, so here I am on dronesafetymap.com, and this just shows a kind of standard map view of the UK. Now when you first look at this, I don't blame you if you feel that it looks a little bit daunting. There are just, you know, different colours and shapes all over the map, and you'll be thinking, what the heck is this? Should I even bother? But stick with it, and you know, and you'll be absolutely confident to fly once you get the hang of it. So let's just have a look at some general kind of areas, shapes and colours. So as you can see on this view, you've got three different colours. You've got yellow, you've got blue, and you've got red. Okay, so in general, yellow is on the whole likely to be a glider site, a private airport. It might be, I've seen some kind of gun ranges there, but they are not airspace restrictions. Okay, it is an area around something like a glider site that is there just to warn you that there is an increased risk, which, to be fair, you know, if you're flying a drone off the runway on a glider site, of course there's an increased risk. So a lot of this is just using your common sense, right? Bizarrely, it's not an airspace restriction. I actually think that perhaps it should be, but that's for another video. And really what you should do if you are wanting to fly in this kind of area is phone them up. And when you click on the area on the map, it will give you generally a phone number, and if it doesn't, just Google it, phone them up and just talk about what you're wanting to do and whether that is going to be a risk to them or a risk to you, because the last thing you want to do is cause a horrific crash, right? So that's the yellow areas. There are different different kind of categories of yellow areas. There are also kind of little private airfields. What else can we find? Small arms range. Okay. Again, you know, there's a good reason for that being there as an increased risk. Okay, if they're out shooting things and your drone is not much higher than where you're shooting, you know, there is a risk there. So just bear these ones in mind. Okay, so that is the yellow designations on Drone Safety Map. Now we'll go on to the next one. So you will also see a lot of blue shapes, and again, they can be circles or polygons. You know, the shape doesn't really matter. It's what's within that shape and why it's there. And you should always click on it, okay, and find out why somebody has put this on the map. They have put it on the map for a good reason. It's not to be a nuisance. It's not to try and stop you flying your drone. It's to say, you know, pay attention. There's a risk here. It's dangerous, or there's something going on where, you know, it could cause a problem if you fly your drone here. Let's make sure that we're all being safe. So it really is a good idea to read these. And actually quite often they are, you can see here, a UAS operation, which just means another drone flyer, usually a commercial drone flyer, has submitted a report via the Drone Assist app, which is Drone Safety Map and Drone Assist are the same thing, same company, just to say that, you know, we are going to be flying a drone here between this time and this time on this day. And again, it just lets other people know that there's going to be a drone in the air there, you know, so it's worth, these things are worth knowing. Okay, so this is worth knowing. So this is a blue area, which is a NOTAM. This is a notice to airmen, and this is saying this is an advance notice of an area that will shortly become either red or yellow. That's basically saying that in 6 days, 20 hours, this area is going to become red or yellow between this date, this time, and this date, this time. Okay, and usually, more often than not, it's some kind of military operation where they've got to just sort of put a boundary around the airspace and say, don't want any drones here because that's not going to be safe. Fair enough, yeah? So really, what I'm trying to say here is the most important thing is actually to read what it's saying, okay, and understand what it's saying. And all you need to do is do that regularly and you will start to get your head around it. When you first start reading it, you're just thinking, what the heck does all this mean, okay? But actually, it is quite simple. It's quite simple. It's just to keep everybody safe. Now, we're now going to move on to the red shapes. Now, when you see one of these circular red shapes with the kind of rectangles sticking out of the ends, this, in my experience, is always an airport, okay? And these rectangles sticking out of the end, that's the runway protection zone. So you see there's a runway running along here, and the protection for that runway runs out here. And the reason for that is because aeroplanes are going to be coming in low to land on the runway and then taking off, and are going to be low as they ascend away from the runway. So that's an extra bit that's sort of tacked onto the end to make sure that that area is safe. Okay, if you that's probably the riskiest area you could possibly fly your drone. So when we click on here, so that's EGRU 120 Odium, which is in effect between surface and 2,000 feet, which means that it is a restriction for drones, okay? Because that's the kind of height that you're going to be flying your drone. Now, if we just move over to check a few more, and we're just going to check this, these polygon shapes. So these are Perbrite. Not sure what that is, but it is. This one's got a schedule with it. Okay, so this airspace is only actually active between 8 a.m. and 11:59 p.m. So any time outside of those times, that restricted airspace is not active. So you could, in effect, fly your drone in that restricted airspace outside of those times because it's no longer restricted. Again, this is why it's important to actually read all of the comments. Now here we have Windsor Castle, okay? So it's not just airports that will have a restriction around them, it's just any area that has been deemed to require a protection around it, okay? So obviously Windsor Castle is a royal castle, sensitive area, so they have a restricted airspace for, well, I mean, it's any aircraft between surface and 2,500 feet, okay? And that is around Windsor Castle. You will also find these restricted airspaces around things like nuclear power plants, military bases, and also prisons, okay? So here we've got HMP Huntercombe, okay? So again, it makes sense why this is a restricted airspace. Don't fly your drone there. Now, when you are looking and planning to fly your drone, I see a lot of people, say for instance, they want to fly their drone at Marlow Common, okay? Right here, and they go, oh, I don't know if I can fly my drone here because there's a restricted airspace there. Well, to be honest, even if you're there, you know, you're literally just outside the restricted airspace. Well, you're not inside the restricted airspace. So yes, you absolutely can fly your drone. That is a defined line. The restricted airspace starts the other side of it. Any place that you are outside of it, you are okay in terms of airspace restrictions. Now, what you have to be careful of is once you get up in the air, it's very difficult to kind of work out whether you're flying into that restricted airspace or not. Most DJI drones will give you a warning if you are going into that restricted airspace, which really helps. There is no longer a geofencing, which used to actually be very handy. DJI drones used to have a geofencing whereby the drone would literally stop as if it had hit something in midair. It would stop. You would not physically be able to fly the drone into that restricted airspace, which was actually very handy, but they've got rid of that now. So you need to have your wits about you a little bit more. And if you are needing to fly just outside a restricted airspace, my advice would be only fly in the direction that's away from the restricted airspace, and just make sure you are facing that way, looking that way, fly that way. Anytime the drone goes back over your head, you know you're sort of in danger of going into that restricted airspace. And that's just about it. It is actually quite simple once you get your head around it. I would advise you to read the comments within the restricted airspaces that you're looking at. That is the important thing. Get your head around the colours, the red, the yellow, the blue, and get your head around the altitudes that these restrictions apply to, and look at the timings of the restrictions, and you should be good to go.